20 minutes to 3. This is today's 830 WCCO. Arianna Huffington. She's going to be speaking tonight at 7 p.m. at the University of St. Thomas O'Shaughnessy Education Center, 2115 Summit Avenue. Again, it's free and open to the public. Arianna has been joining me in studio for this whole hour. Arianna, we were talking about John McCain, the old John McCain and the new John McCain. And you talk about this in the book, about immigration, about torture, about taxes, and about agents of intolerance. And I do remember when he was on Meet the Press, and he was talking about these agents of intolerance, and then he came back later and said, not so much.
Well, there must have been a moment when John McCain decided that he would do and say whatever it took to get elected president. And you may say, well, Arianna, everybody does that. Look at Mitt Romney. There's a difference between the average Paul like Mitt Romney and John McCain. John McCain was not your average Paul. He did talk straight, and he did stand up for what he believed. So that's why this is a kind of tragic fall. I call it in the book a Shakespearean fall, because who cares what Mitt Romney says? What did he ever believe in? It's all flip-flopping. For Mitt Romney is not a problem. But for John McCain to go back on strongly held beliefs, including on torture, that for me was like the final moment of surrender, when he voted against the bill that would have prevented the CIA from using torture. This is a man that had been tortured himself. In fact, Stephen Colbert, who makes a joke out of everything, I was on his show on Thursday and I mentioned that. He said, well, that proves the point. He was tortured himself, so he knows it's not a big deal. That was his explanation. But I don't know if there is a better explanation, except the fact that he was willing to give up on everything. Immigration, you mentioned earlier. There's his own bill. He introduced a bill, a reasonable common sense bill about immigration. And then during one of the Republican debates, he actually said he would not be voting for it. He would not be voting for his own immigration bill.
How do we accept this then? Again, it's this effort to be nonpartisan by the media. And they argue that they are. Whether they are or not, that's a different debate, but they argue that they are. Why is it that we continue to hear the term maverick over and over and over, like this constant drumbeat, if in fact, and it is true, we go back, his immigration stance has absolutely changed, his torture stance has absolutely changed. He said he wouldn't vote for the Bush tax cuts twice, and now he says he would vote for those tax cuts to make them permanent, and for this question of the agents of intolerance, where he has come back afterwards saying, you know what, they're not so intolerant. They're kind of tolerant overall.
Yes, what you said about the tax cuts is so important, because he actually voted against the tax cuts. And he said that I could not in good conscience vote for them. You see, this is a man who talks about conscience, who thinks in those terms. And then now he said he wants to make them permanent. And the media keeps giving him a free pass. On Sunnis and Shias, remember when he got it all wrong? He couldn't tell them apart. Then when he said 10 days ago that we need to basically reach energy independence so we don't send our young men and women to war to die for oil. Can you imagine if Barack Obama had said that we went to Iraq to die for oil? Basically, he would have been lambasted as some kind of left-wing loony.
During the break, I was talking about this, and I'll repeat what I said and have you respond. Again, just this last week, talking to the Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, on the program, I asked him, I said, look, the reason that the Americans voted for you and for the Democrats to take the majority in the House and in the Senate was because they expected you to get the soldiers out of Iraq. And the perception amongst many of them is that you have failed. Even worse, that you haven't even tried. Failed, fine, but at least try. And I think there are many in this country on the left who would say, I don't know if I can tell the difference sometimes between the left and the right. They seem to be cut from the same cloth.
Well, what has happened is that democratic leaders, going back to that tragic vote to authorize the war, have really been cowed and intimidated by the right. So they have not stood up for what they knew to be right.
You mean in the sense that if they were to vote for what was right, they would be colored as unpatriotic?
Exactly.
And so they're more concerned about being seen as unpatriotic than doing what it was they said they're going to do?
Absolutely. You know perfectly well, and I do, that there were many members of Congress and Democratic senators who knew that this war was wrong, that they should not have voted to authorize it.
Is that the reason you think Hillary Clinton is really losing this race in the end?
I think that is a big reason, because she didn't even bother to read the National Intelligence Estimate that Senator Bob Graham had asked everybody to read, because it would have sown an enormous amount of doubt at the idea that there were WMD in Iraq. But the point is, moving forward to what is happening right now, you have bills that the president has said that he's going to veto when they come up this week or next week, and they include more benefits for vets, and they include more unemployment benefits. So while basically he is willing to just spend unlimited amounts of money in an immoral and unnecessary war, he's not willing to sign a bill that would improve the lives of vets and unemployed workers. That's where we are right now. And that's why I say in the book that Democratic leaders need to stand up, tell the truth to the American people, and the American people will be with them.
Then why are they afraid to do that? My perception is that they're massaging this a lot. They're trying to say, oh, we need to bring people together, so therefore we say nothing.
Yes, this whole idea of bringing people together. I'm all in favor of bringing people together to do the right thing. I have no patience with bringing people together to do the wrong thing, which is what we have been doing, this kind of bipartisanship.
So everybody comes together to mess up?
Yes, exactly. Let's all come together.
Let's all hold hands.
Let's all hold together and jump. Let's hold hands and jump, which is what Iraq was. Let's hold hands and jump. The No Child Left Behind bill, which supposedly was supposed to be a great feat of bipartisanship, and now state after state is trying to get out of it.